The weight of the blade on its own comes in at 172 grams. The knife plus the sheath comes in at 234 grams. The overall length of the blade is 32 centimeters, or in old money 13 inches. The length of cutting edge is approximately 18 centimeters, or 7 inches. The blade thickness is approximately 5 millimeters thick. The height of the blade is 5 centimeters, or 2 inches. The handle length is approximately 11.5 centimeters, or 4.5 inches. Here's a size comparison to the smaller tracker model that he does. Here we see the Torx Tracker 1 or T1 and a size comparison to both the model that David Crawford does. And here we see the sheath fitted with a castrum dangler and the knife fitted in the sheath itself. It comes in a lovely high quality black leather sheath, I'd say approximately about 4mm thick, and at the bottom there we can see the logo stamp with good quality stitching. And here we can see how thick the welt is in the sheath. I'm going to say that's approximately about 6mm thick, and this is a lovely sheath. This cracking to carry, really does fit the blade really good. And there, that's the castrum dangler. Here we can see at the back of the sheath, and as we come to the top of it you can see the logo Broc stamped there, and with the brass rivet for the belt loop. So that's the sheath, a good high quality, great standard. So let's take a wee look at the blade then. So starting to the rear, we can see that it doesn't have an exposed tang and it finishes at the end of the scale. Coming forward then, the scales, they are made of G10, and we can see here we have a 5mm lanyard hole with 1, 2, 3 Allan bolts. It is a through tang, as we can see here, to give it that extra strength. And on the top here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jimping slots, and 1, 2, 3 of them, 4 of them are actually cut into the G10 handle itself. And if you look close enough you can see the texture's been machined into the G10 handle slab. And as we come forward here, it has a nice cutout for a thumb scallop. And on the flat of the blade we have the Broc label stamped there. And the blade itself is 5mm thick. Coming down below the Broc sign takes us to the draw section, and the first centimetre of the draw section, starting from the choil, has been flattened out. Hopefully you can make that out there. So it's been flattened out. You can place your index finger in that area without worrying that getting cut on the draw section. You can see it has a secondary bevel there, and if you look close enough you can see the machine lines, which I take's been from the CNC machines cutting the blades out, I would presume. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that one. The blade has been gun blued to a almost dark grey finish. The knife is made of 01 tool steel, just like the smaller model. This was the Mark 1 model, and I know the Mark 2 model doesn't have the coat around this region here. Here's a size comparison between the Barkriver and the large Broc Tracker model, which is on top. So we can see the difference in spine thickness here between the Barkriver on the right and the Broc model on the left. I'd just like to go over some of the features on the knife. Starting for the front then, this drop point, it's got a nice sharp drop to it and a nice piercing tip. Hope you can make this out. which is going to be really handy for splitting down the kindling. A sharp 90-degree spine for striking your ferrule rods or debarking any branches. The front section here, the ulu or chopping section, is balanced in such a way that it tips forward, which assists you when it comes to chopping, and I really like that because this blade is actually quite lightweight. It's only 5mm in stock, but the way he's designed it and the shape of the handle, this curvature here, when you're using it in a local grip, allows the blade to fall forward and do the chopping for you. So I really like that. Coming further along, on the top of the blade we have the jimping slots. I wear gloves so I don't really notice these, but one thing I can tell with the small tracker model is these thumb scallops really do assist you when it came to doing like the draw feathers and you were pulling it up the stick. I felt they were really handy for that, and also for doing your lever chest cuts, so I like that. And it's got on the G10 some grip cut into it, and it's no over aggressive, but it does work and you can feel it. I wear gloves all the time, as you know, and we take a look at the handle at this portion here. It takes 3 fingers and allows the blade to swing forward nice and comfortable, so really good for short chopping. A large index groove here takes the finger in and lets you choke up, and at the choil area here got this slight bump, but the first kind of ½ centimetre hasn't got any edge on it. I don't know if you can make that out. So it lets you really choke up for doing your feathers if you're using the draw section. And looking at the grinds on it, low line sabre, the flat, then we have the primary, and then we have the secondary edge. So that's what it looks like to me. Well, hopefully this will be really good at chopping, and it'll also give me a bit of slice capability as well for doing food prep and butchering game. So there's some of the blade features. So let's see how it gets on. We're doing a bit of wood processing to get a fire up and running. This is my first time using it to chop up anything, and I'm going to delimb this piece of landai I've got in front of me here. So let's see how it does. Nice and easy, fantastic chopper. Well, happy with the results here. You can see there's a big knot just sitting here. There we go, done it. So let's try the draw section to do some shavings. Got a nice piece of dried out sycamore here, good straight edges. It's actually quite difficult to find the biting point. Obviously I'm accustomed to working with the blade. It's producing small feathers, but it actually feels quite difficult to do, and I'm seem to be doing it up closer to the quarter round area, as this front area here for the first centimetre hasn't got any edge on it, but it does allow your hand to come right up here, your index finger, to get greater control. Where the biting point is, and I'm losing a lot of feathers trying to do so, as in I'm applying too much force at times. Let's try my neck knife just to see if there's a difference. Oh, night and day. Oh, you can see that. So obviously it's down to different edge geometry, and this is more efficient for this type of wood. But I'll just take a bit of practice with the tracker. Try that again. Yeah, it is doing them, but it's obviously a much larger knife. Yeah, so this blade geometry basically I'm unaccustomed to, so it is going to take a bit more practice to get efficient at this. Mother blade I just used there seems to be able to do the task much easier. But this is the thing about these style of blades, they all need to be worked at. So for me, the draw section, doing these type of feathers is a weak area for me. Just look at these. I'm going to say that's the best tracker I've used of all the trackers, and I've maybe used about 10 models. But when it comes to doing this task, it's a really good piece of wood for doing it on as well, right enough, and that can have an effect on how the feathers are produced. But the fact that these thumb scallops here are letting me pinch up, the blade's nice and controllable because it's a decent lightweight blade. Really happy with that. I mean, they're amazing. They'll definitely take to like. Yeah, so that's definitely a thumbs up for that. Best I've used yet. When I was doing the draw feathers there, the thumb scallops come into their own. Where you've seen me with other models, I've actually had to pinch up here on the blade like so. It's a different technique, but this blade is almost perfectly balanced. This ability just to get a piece of wood. Right, so here's some of the wood that we've processed down. There's the back brace, the platform, and that piece of sycamore there with the draw feathers on it. And some kindling. We've actually got the sun out now. And that piece of landi and sycamore all processed down. It's the best I can do. The wood's absolutely terrible, but let's see if we can get this fire going. Let's see how we get on striking this fire steel and these feathers here that we done earlier on a piece of sycamore. That's me eventually got my coffee and getting a wee seat here and a wee break. So I'd just like to go over some of the findings that I've come over this morning using the large Broc Tracker for the first time. I was really surprised at how efficient it was at cutting through that landai. The blade is relatively quite lightweight when you compare it to something like the Barkriver Tracker, but it was very efficient at chopping. You look at the design here, the handle curvature where your 3 fingers fit at the rear allow the blade to drop forward, and this is definitely assisting it when it comes to large chopping tasks. So I was really impressed with how well it done at that and the other stuff it's done getting the fire ready today. As I said during making the feather sticks, this is the best tracker I've used for making feather sticks. It was a good piece of wood, yeah, I'll grant you that, but no, it produced absolutely minuscule trumpet rolls and it took no problem there with the fire steel. So where do I see this knife working for me? Well, I actually find that it's going to be a transitional knife for me now that I've used it, as in it can transitional from small bushcraft tasks to say lightweight to medium survival tasks. So it'll be able to go between both worlds for me. Obviously it wouldn't be able to go as heavy as say something like the Barkriver Tracker. That's a monster when it comes to the heavy tasks, but this is really efficient. And if you're into a lighter weight knife, I could highly recommend this. A blade comparison, here's the Barkriver Tracker, a much heavier blade, much larger. So let's see it doing the feathers basically on the same piece of wood. Now one of the things I've said in previous videos is this sticking into your chest as you draw it, because it's a much larger blade, density sticking into your ribs or into your stomach. In this case it's my chest rig here, so this is doing it freestyle, but this is a very efficient blade as well, and just like all the trackers they need a bit of work. So here we go, let's try it. It's doing super fine ones, but it's much harder to control because of the weight. I'm hoping you can get that. So I think the trackers actually make me eat my words for what I says earlier on the day with the Broc, which is typical, isn't it? But no, I feel that the Broc, because it's so lightweight compared to this big blade, I mean look at these. I wish I had a better camera for you to pick this up. So I maybe need to retract that statement. As I say, this is quite a decent piece of wood, but my hand, I feel my hand needs to get further up the blade to get better control. Basically there's no space between these feathers. Yeah, so it's just a bit more difficult to control, but does produce as fine feather sticks. But I've had a lot more practice with this blade, and today was my first time using the Broc Tracker, and I just felt it was just the right size where it didn't stick into me, the Broc one, whereas the Barkriver is. So it swings and roundabouts, and it all depends what you want from the tracker and the style of tracker and the task that you've got at hand. But yeah, this is a great blade. This is my idea of a tracker blade, heavy duty beast.